Bethesda just released another Starfield update. In this video, we see game director Todd Howard, studio director Angela Browder, and art director Matt Carafano discuss the ambitions, passions, and culture that shaped Bethesda's history and how they are looking to the future with Starfield. There's a lot to go over, so let's get right to it.
I think the one thing people underestimate about video games is that people think it's just playtime. But I always say that the one thing video games can give you that nothing else in entertainment can is that feeling of pride, right? Look what I did. And even though we want to make a game that is very big and is very long, you can play for all of those years. It's all the paths you didn't take that make it special to you, that you feel like when you finish that quest, that you feel that you accomplished something that week. The people who love video games can always say, like, you know, what'd you do today? I saved the world.
Todd spoke about what games mean to us, what we get from games that other forms of entertainment don't give you. He mentioned that it gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment. This is a very true statement for most of us. I, for one, do feel pride when I play a game and complete a goal or quest. Nothing else gives me that same feeling. I love that it seems to be a big focus for Bethesda because it is so important to make the game feel fun and enjoyable. The last thing that we want is a game that feels like a chore. So for Bethesda to be talking about Starfield in this way tells me that they have gone back to their roots to make this game the best it can be.
We've been incredibly lucky to work with such a tight group of people for so long. Like, we're all friends. It's like a second family in a way. We all sort of know or get what a Bethesda game is.
There's definitely this core group who's been working together for decades and knows how to make a BGS game. And then there's this, new generation of game developers who are coming in and working at BGS who grew up on those games those people made. For some people, those are the games that got them to go into the industry in the first place. And what I love about that is those people come in and they love the worlds too, and they want to stay true to those worlds that they grew up on. And so we're still able to maintain what a BGS game is, but continue to evolve.
I think we underestimate how long people are going to play it. You look at Skyrim, we're sitting here 10 years later, and it keeps having this life, and it changes how you want to create something.
Yeah, I feel like our games sort of have two lives, right? Like, we create this game and we put everything we can possibly put into it, tell the stories we want to tell, and build this world that's sort of a setup that when we hand it off to the players, they play it, but then they take it and make it their own. They tell their own stories, and then they make their own stories with our tools.
I think it's the hallmark of our games that, you play it and my experience is going to be different than yours. I'm going to come in and tell you a funny story about something that happened to me. You may never have seen that because just a confluence of events. And I think that helps with the longevity and it helps with that feeling of community in a lot of ways.
It is a world that you get transported to that you can really make your own. And that's where, for me, the magic is, to do it for 2 decades and close to that for so much of our group. There's a big trust there that we know how we solve certain things together. We were doing Morrowind and looking at what we might do after that and beyond that. And we had a list of what are the other types of worlds we want to go to. And obviously Fallout was at the top of the list, if we could do that, and that, magically, luckily came true for us. And right behind that was, science fiction.
Angela talked about the team at Bethesda and that most of them have been together for a very long time. This is something that is almost unheard of in the industry. People come and go all the time, but Bethesda has a very different culture. Sure, some people come and go, but most stay for the long haul. She also spoke about how the new developers have come in with fresh ideas while also wanting to stay true to how Bethesda creates the worlds and stories that we all love. Todd followed up with how Bethesda underestimates how long people are going to play their games. He said that it changes how they create their games because they do want people to be playing the games many years later. Matt mentioned how Bethesda games have two lives, the one that they create and the one that the community creates. Matt is of course referring to the modding community here. I think this is a very important aspect of Bethesda games, and Starfield will be no different. Bethesda has made it a point to continuously hammer this point home, and I see no reason why Starfield will not be the same as every other Bethesda game before where mods are involved. Todd then spoke about the types of games they wanted to create. He said that after Morrowind, they were looking for something new, and Fallout became that new thing. I believe this reinvigorated the team at Bethesda. I also believe that Starfield will do the same thing. Sure, each game they make is different, but when it is the same type of game, it can get a little stale. What I mean by that is that the flow of new ideas can dry up, and sometimes the best thing to do is change things up. Do something entirely different from the setting you were just in. This happened when they went from the Elder Scrolls to Fallout, and I'm sure it also happened when they went onto Starfield.
Going to space, I think there's a magic in just defying gravity and taking off from a planet. Like it's extremely difficult human endeavor.
Yeah, a lot of our games are about exploration, and that's sort of like, that's the ultimate exploration, is what's out there, what's past Earth, right? So it's incredibly exciting for us to work on something like that. I feel like every time we come to a game, we're starting fresh. We're saying, okay, we just did that one, that's over. How do we make it better in every way? It's got a more realistic, science-based backing to it, whereas Skyrim is sort of an epic fantasy. This is a more grounded game and a grounded setting about exploration. So I think that gives us a different take on how we make everything. So that's sort of the thing you latch onto when we're making new areas, making environments, making characters.
The mechanics of the world are entirely different, but there are similarities. And I think those are things we like. Like, we like playing first person. We like having all the coffee cups. We like being able to touch everything. Those moments make the whole thing believable. Being able to watch the sunset and nighttime come and just sit there and watch the world go by seems like it's not gameplay, but it is vital to how you feel through the rest of it.
I also think that because it's based in a more realistic atmosphere, is like, you have a lot of people on our team who are super into certain things like robotics or engineering, and they can use this lifetime of knowledge they have gathered and then use it in their work.
Everyone comes from these different areas and brings stuff to the game that can make it in, and it all matters. From the rocks to the clutter to what the spacesuits look like. It's based on people's experience and sort of learning about how things work in the world and trying to apply it in a way that's believable for this universe.
Yeah, it starts feeling so real to us. Like, all you're saying, we do all that stuff, but then concepting like everything they eat, or the toys the children play with, or what are their bedtime stories? What is their art? What is their history? What is their entertainment?
Matt spoke about how exploration is a key part of a Bethesda Studios game. It is what sets them apart from other games. He also touched on what I spoke about with moving from one game to another by keeping things fresh. They also try to make the next game bigger and better than the last. Matt also talked about how Starfield is more grounded in reality. Todd added that the mechanics of the world are different, but still have similarities to previous titles. So first-person perspective and being able to interact with the world are still things that this game will have. He also talked about how the passage of time will still be something that takes place in the game, and we will be able to notice it. Angela added that there are people on the team that have backgrounds with other things like engineering, and how they bring that to life in the game. Matt expanded on that by saying it all matters in some way, because they can create a world that feels real. Todd added that they answer questions like, what food do they eat? What stories do they tell? What toys do kids play with?
It is a universe, not just a game.
There has to be an emotional trigger that occurs. And I think as time has gone on, we're able to paint an even better picture that triggers that emotional thing.
We always have that step out moment into the world, so to say. Technology's changed, we've all changed. So our expectations when loading up a game, like, okay, I'm gonna step out and there's gonna be this moment. Us being able to do that and have it feel new every generation, every game, is something that is really special about what we do. I like to say that Starfield has 2 step-out moments. It's cryptic.
Angela said that there has to be an emotional trigger. Todd then added that there is not 1, but 2 step-out moments. He immediately followed that with, it's cryptic. I think we will be speculating about what these step-out moments are right through the game's launch. Bethesda games are known for these moments when we first step out into the world. Fallout 3 is one of my favorites, but each game has a moment, and to learn that there are 2 said moments in Starfield is very exciting.
Our process of making it is a journey for us that is very, very rewarding. And coming to Starfield, everybody starting over and saying, what would you want to do? What does going to space mean to you? And everybody comes back to the same one. I want to see what's out there.
Todd said that the process of making a game is a journey that is very rewarding. He also said that the question was asked, what does going to space mean to you? And the entire studio answered that they want to see what's out there. Now this video they made starts off being labeled number 1. This suggests that this is the first video in a series of videos. With that in mind, we can expect to see more of these as we get closer to release. This is a big change for Bethesda, and I have to wonder if Microsoft has had some influence here. For previous games, Bethesda has been very hush-hush about them until they make the first big reveal when the game is ready for launch. Starfield has had its big reveal, but it is just under a year from launch. Normally, after said reveal, the game would launch within a very short period of time, so this change in approach is new for Bethesda. The hype has been very high for some time with Starfield, and I expect that to keep rolling through to the game's launch on November 22nd of 2022. I can't wait to finally be able to play this game, and I look forward to even more of these videos in the future. The concept art shown in this video is very interesting, and I look forward to seeing more of it. With that, this Starfield news update comes to a close. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel to grow, and I appreciate you all. As always, I am just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.